All right, coaches, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This week, I'm talking with a lot of the great coaches in the state of Arkansas. I'm not from Arkansas. I played 1 year in high school, and of course, now I've been coaching here for a while, about 11 years, and it's been overwhelming to see the talent that is in this state as far as the high school level. And so a lot of guys will be on this week. One of the guys that I've got today, I think a lot of people know, not just in the state of Arkansas for how successful he is, but also outside of the state. I think he's a guy that's very unique, who thinks outside the box, and he's a guy that a lot of us aspire to be willing to take some of those chances and do some of the things that he's done. And of course, he's had tremendous success. So I've got Coach Kelley with me today, and you may know him or know a little bit about him. Hopefully today we'll go through and kind of get some little nuggets of wisdom that we can kind of pass along to the coaches that are watching. So Coach, for those of you who may not know you, they're probably living under a rock if they haven't heard your name, but if they don't, can you give us just real quick background on you?
Yeah, my name is Kevin Kelley. I'm the head football coach and athletic director at Pulaski Academy High School here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And again, I guess I've been the head coach here for 18 years. I've been here 6 more as an assistant before that. And previously, the 5 years before that, I was in Dallas, Texas, actually in Carrollton, just outside Dallas, a little suburb, Carrollton Independent School District, and big school down there, big public school down there. And then before that, went to college at Henderson State University in Arkadelphia and graduated there. Worked in the business world for a couple of years out of college and basically in college. And so a little bit of a business background, was an accounting major when I started. And then converted over and got a degree and got a Bachelor of Science in Education and with a biology degree or a biology minor and certification, because I was trying to make myself more marketable back then. But I'm a big numbers guy. I love numbers. That's why I was majoring in accounting. Then I realized I didn't want to sit at a desk all day and do that. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then lo and behold, about when I became the head coach here and started asking a lot of questions on how am I going to be any different than the last guy, because they had never made it past the Final Four and only been there twice in the history of the school, I got to bring my numbers into play a little bit that I love so much. So it was a little bit before Moneyball came out, I think 05. So 03, I first started dabbling with the numbers myself. And then when that came out, the analytics world opened up and I learned to do things a different way.
Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you. Those who may not know much about Coach, he probably won't bring it up, but they pretty much every year, if you're playing in Arkansas, they're going to more likely be in the state championship game, if not winning it. I know you've won multiple in a row and been in multiple in a row, and I think that's become common for you at the school you're at. So, and I don't mean to diminish it by saying common. I mean, this is a great compliment. And so one of the things I want to talk to you about is how do you at PA continue to maintain year in, year out, where the standard is the standard and you guys are always near the top or at the top. That's very difficult. To me, take a team from average to good, a lot of coaches can do that. That's hard, but a lot of coaches can do it. But from average to great, that's really hard. And then to be great and do it every year, that's to me the epitome of what a great coach is, which, obviously you've proven to be. So what are some ways you guys have done that?
Honestly, you're exactly right. I think it's hard to go average to good, harder to go good to great, like you said. But man, staying up there and being consistently winning and being in the championship contender, way harder. And if you look at I was on last Friday with somebody, and I had not looked at my timeline, but when I became the head coach in 03, I guess in my first 10 years, we won 3 state championships. In my last 7 years, we've won 6. Now, here's, what I've learned is in the my first 10 years, I started doing things differently because contrary to what everybody believes, if you look at our team, we're always undersized. And what I mean by that is we had 22. I start 11 guys each way. I shouldn't do that because I've really got 6 that ought to go both ways. But I found it to be way more efficient as a team in practice. And then at the end of a game, if you've got truly 11 starters on each side that can go back and forth, that can go to the sideline, sit down, get coached, rest up, and go back out, I think it's more efficient that way. But what I've really found is the more I started acquiring information and data and analytics, and the more I started building my team around that. So, I mean, making the right decision that might be minus or plus 1% here or there. You do that 10 times in a game, and these decisions are costly or they're helpful, one of the two. And if you do that 10 times a game, you might go from a team that you were dead even with. So you had a 50-50 chance to win. If you increase it by 10%, now it's 60-40. I mean, that's a big, big deal without your team getting any better, just by you making better decisions. So once I realized and got educated on that, now I've built my team around the things that win football games at all levels more than anything else. And then I found a couple that affected us more than anything. And I'll give you, for instance, I mean, I know that the number one thing in college football, all levels, and you got to take numbers from college because we don't have a high school database that everybody, puts their information play by play into, and whether, and they don't rank our defenses analytically and offenses analytically. So you got to use college numbers, but it doesn't deviate that much from college to pro. So it doesn't deviate much from college to high school. That said, the number one thing that wins games in football are 20-yard plays. Whoever has the most wins 81% of the time. Now, if that's the winner, take the names off. It doesn't matter if it's Clemson and North Carolina or if it's Alabama and Mississippi State. Whoever has the most 20-yard plays in a game wins 81% of the time. So I started looking at that and I'm like, okay, now I want to know why that is. I don't want to just go, okay, well, then we need to have more 20-yard plays. I want to know why that is. Well, I know this, that I've learned that analytically, there's things that kill drives. Sacks are the biggest drive killer there is. A penalty on a drive, your chances of scoring, if you have a penalty on a drive, drop your drive chance of scoring less than half. And so a 20-yard play, what that does is that eliminates extra plays. For instance, if you average 5 yards a play and start on your own 20, you've got to have 16 plays to go score a touchdown. A 20-yard play knocks out 4 chances to have a drive killer. So that's why I always like to know the why too. So I'm like, is that a real analytic that I can apply? Well, so I built my team on offense around 20-yard plays. I mean, things that would help us get 20-yard plays. Now, everybody's like, well, we'd all like to get a 20-yard play. I agree, and I'm not knocking anybody. They can do it they can do it the way they want to do it. But we throw more plays behind the linebackers and in front of the safety, more passes than anybody probably at any level of football, NFL, college, or high school in the country, because that's the easiest place to complete them and get a 20-yard play, get yards after catch. We throw least curl routes and stop routes than anybody probably in the game of football. We want to be moving after the catch, dig routes, slant routes, crossing routes. You're a moving target. That enables more run after catch, which enables more 20-yard plays. And that's an analytics thing too. I saw on the different types of routes that there are and the yards after catch. And those are all the best yards after catch. So I really designed my offense to make 20-yard plays. So if you think about that, now you flip it over to the defensive side and you go, okay, what can you do to eliminate 20-yard plays? So I simply took our defense for the last couple of years and looked at their 20-yard plays and saw, is it a defense? Is it a blitz? Is it a front? Is it a coverage that's causing these or whatever? And I found out what it was for us. And for us, we built our team, I guess, without really knowing. We're a contained team. We're an edge team, set the edge. Some teams are spill teams, we're an edge team. When they got outside our ends or our outside linebacker, if it's an outside blitz, when they got outside via the quarterback scrambling outside, whether he threw it or ran it, or the running back, that was well over half their 20-yard plays. So, man, you talk about the last 3 years really figuring out that actually about 5 years, setting the edge. We have to set the edge. You preach it all the time. We teach our kids how to do it, how to get off blocks, to get outside. We teach them when you've lost the edge what to do. Turn and sprint, even if you have to give ground to set that edge, because we realized that we're giving up those 20-yard plays. So we built our offense and defense around the thing that matters the most in football. And then, then you go look and you go, what's next? Well, it's turnovers. You can work on turnovers. We work on more recovering the fumbles than we do on causing them. We try to work on causing them some too. Everybody's working on that. So I don't know that anybody's going to be a lot better. And it's been proven that a lot of turnovers are happenstance. And what I mean, tip balls, do you have another guy there to pick it off? Balls on the ground. When a ball is on the ground in a fumble, it's really a lot. There's really a lot of luck. Even the analytics in the college and NFL world, they'll tell you there's a lot of luck involved. What can you do more? The only thing I could do there was and everybody talks about their team getting to the ball. every play of every practice, when we're on defense, my guys have to run all the way to the ball, to the pile, to the whatever. Linemen, cornerbacks, backside, it doesn't matter. I want 11 guys in the picture. What does that do? When there is a ball on the ground, we've got more guys than you. So if it is random luck, I've got more guys than you, so the random luck ought to turn my way. It's not random anymore. So, that's the only thing I could do on that one. The third most important thing on winning games is whoever has the most sacks. 77% of all games are won by whoever records the most sacks in that game. There's a lot of things you could look at as to why. Well, if the team's down, naturally they're going to be passing more. They're going to give up an extra sack, maybe. Okay, but I know this. I went and looked at our drives, and we were scoring over a couple-year period at a 90% rate for touchdowns. I know that sounds insane because the national average is, in and around 30% for a touchdown. So, but we were doing that when we didn't have a sack or a penalty on a drive. Okay. Well, a sack brought us down to 8%, 90 down to 8. Now think about that. Now, so I learned that a while back. So, you would think, so, well, are you giving something away? Should the other team do whatever they can to sack you? Well, so the first thing I do is on offense, I went and put in anti-sack things, really good screens, the way my quarterbacks drop, get rid of the ball faster, all those kinds of things, where now I hope I anti-blitz things. I want people to blitz us because now we're going to have a 20-yard play off of that. And so I've turned a negative into a positive in the analytics world. At the same time, on defense, what do? And that is, we really spend a lot of time on crafting and designing blitzes and fronts on passing downs. And because we know if we sack them, that's a drive killer. And, everybody goes, well, we all do that. Well, I don't think you really do it, necessarily like we do, where we're designing it and we look through it, look through the defense and find out at the end of the year, which ones do we think are good that are really not good? The efficiency of those. And you'd be amazed. And I'll give you an example. I went on offense last year. At the end of the year, I looked and I just asked my O-line coach, what do you think our best 3 running plays are? And asked myself, what do I think our best 3 passing plays are? And I've got, 100 named passing plays, and I listed my top 3. Well, number 1, I was right. Okay. And it made me mad actually, because we were 16 out of 16 passing on it for 207 yards and 7 touchdowns. And you're looking like, that's tremendous efficiency. 16 out of 16. We called it 17 times. One of them was a sack. The other 16 were complete for over, well over 10 yards an attempt. That's really efficient. My second one that I thought would be the second best, we were 3 out of 27 on. Now, I'm a smart guy. I'm a very smart guy, and I'm even aware of things like that. For me to think that told me a lot. So then I go back and I jump into my psychology books. I want to know, why would I think it was if it was that bad? Well, 2 of them were touchdowns in crucial moments of a game. And I remember the good, and we remember the good. And I'd just forgotten all the incompletions on 1st and 10, where it was 2nd and 10, and we weren't worried about it that much. And that made me really think, I've got to go look at all of our plays and see how efficient we really are and throw out the crap. Or is the play good? And I was calling it at dumb times. Or is the play good, but we didn't do a good job of teaching receivers this year or quarterbacks this year? So then I went and looked back at past years with a different quarterback and a different set of receivers, and the play was very efficient. So I was either remembering the couple of plays that year it scored, or the past years where it had been really good, but I didn't do a good job of teaching the quarterbacks this year, or we didn't do a good job of teaching the receivers how to run the routes, against different formations. So, all that would stop sacks, make you more efficient, that kind of stuff. So again, we built our team around sacks. The next most important thing is tackles for loss. Almost 70% of the teams that have more tackles for loss in a game. So there's your 2 defensive things. So you look and you go, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that means we're going to crowd the box if we get a high tendency for run. I mean, we're willing to go no safety, put a safety down. If you want to throw the fade ball, good, because that's a low efficiency play. And we're willing to sacrifice and do that to get one of those tackles for loss, because we know they're drive killers. And so as you're going through and you build your team, and that's just a few of them, I've built our entire philosophy around those things. Then I found a couple that are good for us. Onside kicks. If we recover an onside kick, we're 136-5. Anything that makes you that efficient at winning, you got to spend a little time on it, getting better at it. And so we started spending more time. I didn't even realize it was that big of a deal for us. 10 of our last 14 losses, we didn't recover an onside kick. So if we don't recover one, there's your best chance to beat us. So, through the years, and really these have been the last 5 or 6. Now I'll go back to the very beginning when we started talking. My first 10 years, we won 3 state championships. Actually, probably my first 11 years. Yeah. My first 11 years, we've won 3 state championships. My last 7 years, we've won 6. When do you think I started putting all this analytics stuff together and basing our football team? That's it. It coincided with that. So everybody else is like, well, you must be taking other people's players or this or that, except for the people that are really looking and playing us and walking out there and going, my gosh, they had 22 starters this year and 3 of them were over 200 pounds. 2 of them were on the offensive line and 1 linebacker. No D line. 3 O linemen weren't 200 pounds. No receivers, and it's because my coaches are good coaches. They scheme well. We do all that. But I'm going to tell you, if you build your team around the things that win games more than anything else, it's a game changer. And people can say, and they can talk and do all they want to, but I know we're doing it right here as far as that. What I can't figure out is why other college teams and pro teams aren't doing the same thing. I mean, realistically, and I'm smart enough to know on first, our 1st and 10 is different than everybody else's 1st and 10 because we use 4 downs. But I know this. And this is, I know some people would say, that we can't do that, and that's fine. But I know this: in the college and pro world, you should never, ever, ever run the ball on 1st down unless you literally have an extra 1.5 guys in the box than they do. You should never do it. It is so inefficient at the college and pro level, and passing is so much more efficient now that everybody is throwing over 60% completions. So if I'm on 1st and 10, if I'm at that level, I am never running the football. Build your team around things that win the games more than anything else. And it is just a thing. Teams that throw the ball on 1st down the most coincide with being the most winning teams. They just do. It's insane when you think about it, but it comes down to efficiency, yards per play, those 20-yard plays we talked about. It's a lot easier, unfortunately, getting a 20-yard play in the passing game. All things being equal, you look at a really efficient run team. Pick one out in college football. Pick out a really efficient passing team. Which one's going to have more 20-yard plays? It's just easier getting 20-yard plays in the passing game because half the time the ball, you're not having to get tackled while you're getting 20 yards. You're throwing the ball in the air and getting it, and enables you to make it easier. So, we built our team on that, the onside kicks, the not punting, the contain, because I know that gives up 20-yard plays for our defense. For some people, it would be the opposite. It would be the other thing. Make sure you're spilling everything to the sideline, depending on how you run your defense. But that's what we've done. In the last 7 years, I would put my hand on a Bible, and I'm a spiritual guy. That's the difference. People can say what they want. Our kids haven't changed since the day I got here, and we had never won anything until now. We're winning so much, everybody wants us out, and I get that, but it's not that. It's just that we've built our team a little bit smarter. Now, I've been lucky because when I first started onside kicking and not punting and all this, I got hooked up with a lot of analytics people because in the mid 2000s when analytics came out, I got to go speak at MIT at an analytics convention. Then I got to go speak at another one a few years later, and I got hooked up with all these guys, and they started asking me questions. Well, I started asking them questions, and I can call them up and have them run numbers for me, and they will. And so I've got access to all this. Now, I'll be honest, I have to go after it, but I got access to all this stuff. And as soon as I realized what it was, it got easy because A, I like it. B, I want to win. So I'm willing to do what people would consider stupid stuff on the field, to win games, because our goal is our duty as a coach. Our responsibility is to, number one, we want the kids to be better people when they get out of our program than when they enter it. And I think 99% of all the coaches are there. Number two, our kids deserve, for all the time and effort and commitment, they deserve to win. They deserve it. And it's our job, it's our responsibility to facilitate the best chance for them to be able to do that, to exhaust all resources for them to have a chance to do that. And at the same time, not worry about somebody in the stands thinking we're idiots, or the media thinking we're stupid, or the other team getting mad at us for thinking we're stupid. It's our job to facilitate. We ask them to commit to us. We need to commit to what they want. And what do they want to do? They want to enjoy winning at the end of a game. So I'm willing to do the dumb stuff that some people aren't willing to, because, there's still a lot of stuff I do that the analytics world will accept now and go, you're right. But the regular coaching world will be like, we don't like you doing that. You're making a mockery of the game, or it wasn't designed to be played that way, or whatever. Whatever the rules are, I'm going to play within them. And I'm going to give my team the best chance that I believe, because I'm the leader of the team, that I believe will do that for us.
Yeah, Coach, that's impressive. You went through a ton of the things I wanted to hit you on. Analytics, I know, is huge for you. One thing I follow you on Twitter for is to see those, and that's something I know I've learned, and a lot of coaches have from you. Talked about maintaining a high level. You talked about adapting. Changing your own coaching style. 6-7 years ago, and all of a sudden this is happening now. So to me, what are you seeing now? Now, not just at PA, but just in the high school game in general, because you get to play. Y'all are blessed to play not just in our state, but you can go play. You play teams from Texas. You play teams from all over the place. What are you seeing in the game as far as across the board in the last? You've been head coach about 20 years or so. That's changing in the high school game. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen? In our state in Arkansas, and then even outside.
Let me hit first on when you say y'all are blessed to be able to go play outside the state. Everybody can do it, and I would highly encourage you to go play teams outside the state. If you got to get on a bus, we're getting on buses and riding 7 hours, and we're doing whatever we've got to do to get. We'll stay one night in a hotel and pack 4 kids in a room, and they got to pay $25 to do it. And people say, "Well, my kid can't pay $25. School's not paying for that." Well, they can if the weekend before you'll do a car wash or something, because the community will come out and do it. And we're doing things in order to be able to do that. We're working in the summer and doing stuff for them to be able to raise money and do that kind of stuff. And they're doing odd jobs and other things and paying for that stuff. But I would encourage that, because it does 2 things. One, it lets you play completely different brands of football. It is amazing. If you go to Alabama, their state pretty much does 2 different things. You go to Texas, they do 2 different things. There's basically 2 kinds. Go to California, go to Florida. Their state identifies with a brand of playing football pretty much. And it's fun. And I promise you, your kids get the mindset, if you believe in the psychology of the game, your kids get the mindset, we went down and beat this team from Texas. We can beat everybody in Arkansas. That's what they think. We went down and beat this team in Florida, because they read about the recruits from Texas. They read about the recruits from Florida. Now, I'll say all that to say this. The reason I wish coaches would do it is I think I have been all over. I've been to 5 million billion coaching clinics, talked at a million of them, gotten to know a lot of coaches from around the country. Arkansas coaches are good. We're good football coaches. You think Ohio, you think Texas, you think Arkansas high school football coaches are good. I'm going to say this. We're a rural state with not a lot of teams, 300 teams. Arkansas high school football is good. Very, very good. If you look at what we do when we go play other states, I don't mean us, I mean our people. Look at Bryant. They played Dion's team this year. That team's a recruited, loaded team, and they beat those guys. We go down to Tyler, Texas. They've got 7 guys committed to FBS Power 5 teams. Went to Ravenwood and played them. Arkansas football's good, and I like when we go out and play, and it spreads the word, because I talked to a guy Friday that called me. He's like, "Look, y'all aren't really having to play anybody, but you must be doing some good stuff to beat those guys consistently." I'm like, I don't even think he knew he was insulting me and our state. But, I wanted to say, but it's not the time. I want to say, buddy, I could name about 10 teams here that you have no chance against. And you think basically that's about, 3% of our team. So you have no idea what you're talking about. But that said, you just let that go. But I wish our teams would go out and play, because I think people would be amazed. I was nervous at first, because I was coaching down in Texas. I know what it is. We go down to play Highland Park, but before I coached that, we go down to play Highland Park. I look at their 9 through 12 coaching staff. They got 36 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
We have 6 total, 7 through 12. And now we have 7 through 12. We have 7 football coaches. So you look and you're like, oh my gosh, you're just dumbfounded at the size and what it is though. And I get it. They have a bunch of kids. They have to have more coaches. That doesn't mean they're better. That doesn't mean, that they're better with the kids, that they're better X's and O's or anything like that. And when it all comes down to it, you can only put 11 dudes out there. Now, what you will see is they got 11 bigger dudes because they've got 2,000 kids per in their high school per high school. So, but it lets us go out, and I want Arkansas high schools to shine. I know people may be pulling for us to lose every time we go play. I'm pulling for every Arkansas team to win, and when they play an out-of-state team, period. End of story. It makes us all look better. And we do have good football. I've been all over the country playing football. We're good. We're very good. I'd put us in the top. I would put us in the top 5 if you take out just percentage. You guys take your top 10% out, and we'll take our top 10% out and play you and see what happens. I think we're pretty dang good. So, that's one thing I would encourage. Now, I'm a dummy, and I've forgotten the rest of your question. You talked about going out of state, and you ask that question again. I'll get to the rest of it.
You're good. No, first of all, Coach, I cheer for every Arkansas school, no matter what, especially if they're playing out of state. And I think most guys in our state hopefully are that way, because
I hope so.
I'm from Alabama. And so when you said it, it hit me right in the head. Alabama defense, we're going to get after it, and it's spread football, and that's Alabama. And that's what I came from. So when I came to Arkansas, I went, what in the world? Because the stuff y'all were doing was way above. I had to, get caught up quickly. And it was amazing. But so that resonated with me. Now, what I was talking about was, 20 years now, you've been coaching.
Oh, that was the other part. Got it. Here's the thing, and this isn't really where you were going, but that I've seen more than anything is right now, it used to be the NFL filtered down. Everybody copied them. College did, then high school. I'm a believer more than ever that it's high school filtering up. There's no question about it. I can remember back I had a kid that went to, my quarterback went to Texas Tech back in 2006. And only a couple of schools offered him. I knew Mike Leach a little bit, went and visited with him, and he knew my kid was going to be smart and educated. He ended up giving my kid a scholarship when nobody else really would, or not many people would. And the big reason then was they're like, well, they can't take a shot. Your kid only takes shotgun snaps. He can't take a snap under center. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're not good enough a coach to teach them that, well, it'll never be like that in college and the NFL where most teams are in shotgun. It'll just never be that way. Well, we were in shotgun from game 3 in 2006 on. I've never been under center, ever, not once. And people in college and NFL coaches kept telling me it's just never going to be that way. Well, where are we now? That's just the majority of it. Not everybody, but college and NFL, it's way, way over 60% of all snaps are taken from the shotgun, and it's a real high number. So we're filtering up now more than ever, which, I like that. I like being able to think that. And instead of having to look to the NFL, we can still look and see some of the things they're doing, especially some of the innovative coaches like your Andy Reeds and those kind of guys. Mm-hmm. But if we like where we are and we like doing that, then we've got to keep being innovative. We've got to keep trying new things. They've got to have good reasoning behind them, but we've got to keep trying new things if we're the leaders in football technology, so to speak. And I believe we are. And I believe that's because, college coaches will tell you, the ones that don't have egos will tell you this. I envy y'all. Your coaches across the board have to be better than mine, because I hire recruiters. You have to hire coaches that can coach whoever you get from year to year and coach them into what you're doing. We just plug guys in hoping they fit what we're doing. We still coach, but, I've had 2 really prominent named coaches, 3, tell me they think high school coaches are the best coaches in the world. And, but you get a job by who and, who can you recruit? None of that matters to me, but I like being thought of like that. I think we are thought of like that. I think our innovation coming from the ground up is better. I want to stay that way. I want us to keep being innovative. And I think to do that, you can do like for when we coach our offensive line, this is going to sound like, how do you ever win any games? We don't coach technique very much at all. we want to make sure they know no matter what front and where your alignment, where the blitz is coming from, that we know who to pass block and run block. We never want to have a missed assignment based off not knowing. Doesn't matter what you move around, this or that, because that has proven to be more important than the technique. Because let's be honest, I've got 3 guys under 200 pounds on my offensive line. I can technique those guys all day, but they get a 250-pound monster across from them. They ain't going to push him anywhere, and they ain't going to be able to, block him very long. So they need to be able to just stay in his way, know who to go to, get in his way. And I have to design our runs to be a little quicker and different. I have to design our pass on those days to get the ball out of our hands a little faster, and call different plays to fit that, And that's what I think that means for us being innovative and being able to be the guys that go up. And to me, that's where the game's gone lately. And more NFL guys are talking to me saying, "What are y'all doing?" More and more college guys, "What are y'all doing?" Used to, it's still a little taboo for them to ask because they're asking a high school guy, that's what their peers will think. But more and more people are doing it because I think because we get who we get, we have to be more innovative. And you see that across the board. I'm very, very proud of that.
Yeah, Coach, and I'm a Dolphin fan, so don't kill me here. But the shirt,
they're on the way up, though. I'm a big Dolphin fan too. I'm a Dolphin fan too.
Well, and I think it's because we kind of tapped into the shirt you're wearing, getting Flores and his Belichick with the same idea you're saying. He had Cam Newton, so they're going to go almost some double wing stuff. I mean, he was running to what he had, and I think, speaking to your point, he adapts every year, which is pretty cool to watch. I've got 2 more questions for you, Coach, but I'm enjoying it, so you go as long as you want to go. One of them, I know with you guys in the passing game, and I'm by far no expert on what you guys are doing. However, a lot of times I've seen and just heard you talk about how you're adaptable, what you guys run, and you just talked with your offensive linemen, knowing who, not so concerned about the technique, but understanding the general concept of what you're trying to accomplish. Do you teach, when you're teaching plays, do you teach plays or concepts, or do you think that's the same word?
No, I think they're different words. Because, you can have 10 different plays, but the same concept.
Right.
And so I think they're different. Now, I do think it's important that everybody understand what's going on. For instance, people get, we're all, I don't know if you know in psychology of Pavlov dog, they had the dogs ring the bell, fed him, and he would salivate and eat, and ring the bell and he would salivate and eat, and ring the bell and he would salivate and eat. Then they quit letting him have the food and ring the bell and he still salivated. We're all trained responses, so to speak. Our kids, it's funny. When we call a pass play, our linemen didn't know the difference because we only have 2 protections. I know that sounds stupid, but it keeps it simple. We never have the back end protection, and we keep it simple. But I was learning on plays that are quicker plays that we throw, our linemen generally quit blocking at the end of when they thought that play was over with. It was just kind of trained. Well, this play only takes a second and a half, 1,001, 1,000, and they're done. And the plays that they knew take a little more time to form, they were blocking longer and harder. And I thought, they're not even doing it because they understand that the play's out faster. They just know that seems like the ball had gone faster on that one. It's like, so they would hear the word and block less, hear the word and block less, or see the signal and block more, see the signal and block more, depending on what the play was. And so I'm like, I think these guys, I think they really need to understand. So I spend time probably once every 3 weeks, a little segment where I'll bring our offense only on one end. Defense is down there. Y'all talk about whatever you want to, gameplay. But the offense only, and I let the linemen sit there while we run plays, and we'll go through them 3/4 speed so they see what we're doing on a run play and the motion of the back and the quarterback back there. They turn around. They literally turn around and watch. And I'll be like, look, when you're pulling here, here's what's happening. When both of you are pulling, here's what we're doing. Or on this pass play, look, here's what's going to happen. These guys are running switch routes, and they may have to adjust to that safety. It may take an extra full second. That's why that one takes 3 seconds. So I want them to understand what they've already learned, kind of, the Pavlov dog way anyway. And I think that's been a big deal. It helps them all understand concepts. And at the same time, it also helps, when the back understands he's got a puller in front of him. But when we let the back, so I'll do the same thing with the backs and receivers on screens. Let the linemen walk through who they're blocking or against different fronts or how they're doing it so they can watch and understand, oh, that's why coach is having me take that counter. If you're having trouble and you want a back to take a great counter step, it's for two reasons. One, to get the linebackers to go that way or flow looking that way. Two, to give your pullers time to pull. If you really want him to take, and you're having trouble getting him to take that counter, he's too quick on it. He's going, he's almost beating the guy there. If you really want him to, show him what the line's doing. Let them walk through and let him watch. And he's like, oh, it's really good for me. Because they'll think what they want to. They're going to think, yeah, coach is just telling me it's taking too long back here. That's why this play isn't working. I've got to hit it quicker. Well, no, it's because you're hitting it too quick, that the play's not having time to develop. So when you do that, I think they understand and do it more. So to answer your question, they're different, but they sure do work together. I mean, hand in hand. And I think it's important for everybody to understand everybody. We started doing that on defense too. I wanted my D-backs to see what was going through on the front when we were running blitzes and stunts and stuff, and understand that it's going to take a half a second for them to get going in that. And you better, you got to play your coverage a little different. So I think you can do that at all level, on all areas of football. And that's one of the things that we've done the last few years that I've really enjoyed, that I think have made us better as a group. But yes, we teach concepts, and we teach not just 10 different formations to run 2 different plays. We teach 20 different formations and 20 different plays for each concept. There's 2 kinds of people in the world that are extremely successful. I really believe this. 2 kinds of teams, organizations. There's those that do like 1, 2, or 3 things, but by gosh, we do them better than anybody else does. And I think that used to be, that's like your 10 years ago Alabama. We're going to run the ball and play defense with our forefront better than anybody in the game. And they did, and they were successful at it. And then I think you get the teams that go, you know what, we're not going to do anything better than anybody else, but we're going to do a million things slightly above average. What that does is all those million things give you a million things to prepare for. And if you look at Sun Tzu's Art of War, it's the best strategic book in the history of mankind, possibly. We're built around this. He said, those that do few things must prepare for the enemy. Those that do many things, the enemy must prepare for you. And, yet another philosophical thing that we've built our team around is we do a million things on offense, and none of them really great. We're just slightly above average at all of them. Whereas I've got an encyclopedia every single game of plays to call. I'll go through a year and call a play 2 times the entire year, but it was 2 good times that I needed to call that play. And, some of that has to do with the ability of the play caller, and I think that's the only thing I'm really, really good at in the world is calling plays, having a reason why, knowing when to call it and at the right time. But if you can do that, you've got an answer for every possible thing. It may not always work, but you do have an answer to attack the weakness of that moment of that defense, whether it's leverage or whether it's a front or numbers or whatever. And when your kids understand conceptually what you're trying to do, because I'll tell them why. I mean, we have segments in practice where I'll call the play, do it, and tell them why. I want them to understand why we're calling too, because if they always believe, you want people to work, give them not only tell them to believe, but give them a reason to believe. And then you've got something. And I want our kids to understand why I'm doing that. And now my kids have watched. I mean, I'll talk through it in film on Monday. We have a segment where the entire team watches 4 or 5 plays from each coach. I want to explain why we're doing that. I want them all to understand. So they're like, hey, they call it, man, they got a good reason for this. They believe it will work. They might work just a little bit harder. They might work just a little bit longer if they know why you're doing something. Because kids, what's the number one thing they want to do? Ask. They want to ask why. Well, we explain why to them on everything. Now, there's times if I'm in the middle of a game and I call a play, I don't need a quarterback asking me why then, but I want them to know why in practice, and they'll build up a belief in you.
Yeah, very good, Coach. And this is awesome, man. I appreciate it. And last one I've got for you, Coach. I'm thinking a lot of guys are going to watch this in the age range from whoever, but specifically to the young guy. So this is the 21-year-old who's now you just graduated from college, you decide you're going to be a football coach. If you had some words of wisdom for that guy, what are you telling him?
Man. Number one is the grass is not always greener on the other side. We all got goals and aspirations to do, to do things. And I think that's good. I think you should. But I guess when I say the grass isn't always greener, what I mean is, I don't mean don't go for that grass. I mean, make sure you for sure look at the good parts of the grass you're in, because wherever you are, it doesn't matter if you're the coach of a single A school in Mississippi, or if you're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. There's good and bad wherever. Problems change, the people change, but the job is similar. And I think, number one, you need to be happy as a football coach to be able to coach as effectively as you can. And so that means looking at all the positives wherever you are, whatever situation you're in. I would say that. I'd say number two, there's three kinds of people in the world. I believe this with all I'm worth. There's those people that know that they know. The ones that are smart. Like, I think Coach Belichick knows that he knows football. And then I think there's people that know that they don't know. Like, I know that I don't know as much as I will know. I know that I don't know everything, and I've got a lot to learn. And then there's that don't know that they don't know. And there's a lot of people that still fall into that category. And those are the ones that think they know everything, but they don't. They don't know that they don't know everything. Man, always know, even when I'm 51 years old, been coaching for 28 years, I know that I've got a ton to learn. I was looking and sent a thing to my son today. That showing him a play and a concept I want to talk about and try to change and all that, and ask him about it, and I want his opinion. I know that I've got a lot to learn and get better. As long as you have that, then then you'll always adapt to the game that's changing. You'll always adapt to the kind of kids we have, and they require us to adapt. And you'll always adapt to the rule changes, all those things. But if you don't, so I would say that too. And then third, I would say is accept responsibility for everything on your team that you're in charge of. For instance, we're back in 2005. We're playing a playoff game against Fountain Lake, and I got two guys that I've loved. That one of them still with me. I love him. He's awesome. And another guy, he's moved on. He got a better job and more money and all that. He was a great coach too, and he still is. And we were in a game, and one was the DC and one was the D-backs coach. And we knew this kid was, when they lined up like this and did this, they're going to do this. And he was going to run a go route in a certain situation. And so our DC calls down and tells D-backs coach, hey, they're fixing to run. And he goes, I know, I just told him. He literally, the kid's on our sideline on their team, he's lined up close to our sideline. He looks at our corners like, this kid's fixing to run a go route. This is it. And the kid does it anyway and runs past him and scores a touchdown. Well, the DC's mad, the coach is mad, and they're yelling at the kid. I just told you what was coming. I showed you in practice. We showed you on film. We showed you how to do it, but he did it. So at that moment, I learned really quickly, I didn't hire a coach to show him, to tell him it was coming at that moment, to even teach him on the field how to stop it. I hired that coach to get that kid to do what he wanted him to do on the field. And one of two things happened on that play. Either we didn't teach him very well, that's on us, or we asked him to do something he physically was unable to do, and that's on us. Either way, it's bad coaching. And so, at that moment, I said, from this point on, I never want to hear us blame a kid. And I'm a very disciplinary, military style, kind of mean jackass kind of coach, people would say. But on that, it's our fault. We, the kids out there, we have to assume that we're motivating them enough to try as hard as they can. If they don't get something done, it's our job to get them to do it. I can hire a mom out of the stands to show them on film what's coming, to teach them a few drills. That doesn't make you a football coach. Best football coaches can adapt what they do on the field to match what their kid can do and what they can get him to do. We either should have done one of two things in that situation. We knew that go route was coming. Then we either got to put a safety over the top or move that kid back and put a linebacker over there for the short stuff. I mean, that's what we've got to do. And you could go, well, maybe your defense is designed that way. We didn't want to run that front or cover. Then, okay, give up the touchdown. and I'm lucky enough where I had two awesome coaches that were with me, and they, it takes a while, the men and the egos, and we got to filter it out. But I think they understood that too, and now they buy into that. You're a better coach the day you realize if I accept all responsibility, then I'll know what and when to ask my kid to do something. It won't be something of what I'm planning that week. I don't know if he can do that or not. Well, let's just try it. Well, if you don't know if he can or not, then I wouldn't do it. And so, what you'll also find is the kid taking responsibility. We want them to take responsibility, because I'll be in the Monday film session. I'll be like, hey, John, I'm sorry we asked you to do that. I mean, we don't have me on our team that can guard that kid. We shouldn't have put you in that situation. And I'll look at the coach and go, don't put him in that situation again. That kid will go, no, my fault, coach, my fault. When do they ever do that? Nobody ever wants it to be their fault unless it's good. They'll score a touchdown and point to me, but they're not giving beat on a pass going me. But they start accepting responsibility because they love their coach. They don't want him to get it, so they think Coach Kelley's getting on my coach for putting me in a bad spot. And they'll be like, no, I can do it, coach. It's my fault. And that's a good place to be. And so I know that was a long answer to but there's your three things for young coaches, I would say, because we all want to act like that we know more than we do, because it's ego, and we don't want to ask questions that are they going to think this is a stupid question, or, when you're asking another coach or going to a clinic or whatever. But, people just think that way about you for 5 minutes. I teach my kids all the time, don't worry about what people are thinking about you, because they only think about you for 5 minutes. Then they're on to worry about themselves. And I call it the spaghetti stain story. If I'm on this interview right now and I've got a big red spaghetti stain right there, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is everybody watching thinking Coach Kelley's a slob? What does it matter? They're going to think it for 5 minutes and they don't care. They're looking at themselves and looking at their own work and figuring out what to do. So quit worrying about what people are thinking about you and ask what you need to ask. Do what you need to do to become a better you, a better coach, a better whatever. And then you're going to enjoy life more.
Coach, that's awesome. No, I know I enjoyed this. I'm sure the guys that are watching this will get something from it. If guys are watching this and they want to reach out, just kind of just ask you a question or just reach out to get to know you a little bit, what's the best way to do that?
Probably the easiest is on Twitter, direct message. I've opened my direct messages to everybody. So it's at Coach Kelley with an EY1, the number 1. So at Coach Kelley 1. And I return every message. If you email me, Kevin.Kelley with an EY at PulaskiAcademy.org. I get to every email, but I'm a little quicker on Twitter probably. But I try to get to everybody. Now, usually I try to get back with 24 hours. I've got a 80% 24-hour rule. But sometimes if it's in the middle of something or season or administrative stuff or state tournament, it might be a few days or whatever. Or if the thing gets buried, God forbid, then just shoot me another one if it's been a couple of days. But I try to, because I was one of those guys that was looking for anything I could find, and I know how it is, and I want to give back, and I keep wanting people to give to me too. So if you want to take from people, you better be ready to give to people too. So those two ways are good. If your school will pay for you stuff, go on CoachTube, and we've got something covering most of these things that we talked about, coachtube.com. And then if you do those, then you got specific questions on an area that we do that I think we've got 9 or 10 videos up. Then shoot me a text or an email with specific questions. I find that people with specific questions get more of what they want. And, a lot of people ask general questions. Man, that's tough. Somebody's like, what is your philosophy on offense? Holy moly. I mean, that's a big, broad question. I guess I'd say, 20-yard plays, that doesn't help anybody, so I would say those things. If your school will pay for things, go get those. They're cheap videos, but I looked at a lot of videos on there and I didn't do it. I mean, I want to be the best at everything I do, but I looked and I went through them as a coach and bought a bunch of videos and go, what are the deficiencies here? I mean, what questions do I have about this video that I need to be better? And I tried to make the video where I think other people made mistakes, and it's hard. So I think you'll find that they're very complete, answer a lot of questions, and can really dial you into, I need to know this exactly. And I think that's the best way. So whether it's my videos or somebody else's or yours, Kenny, what you do, they need to watch them first and then write down questions throughout, specific questions. I think that's the other thing is when I've been real specific in my questions for people, coaches that I've gotten to know, resources, that's when I've gotten my best information.
Good, good. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you coming on. And guys that are watching this, make sure you do. Coach has got some stuff on CoachTube. I'd go get it. I'd recommend it. If you just heard today, I mean, I've got my little notes over here filled up pretty good. I'm sure you guys did too. So, Coach, appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be on. Honored to be one of the coaches that you chose. And like I say, I think Arkansas high school football coaches are, man, we're good compared to the other states I've been in. I'm very proud to be associated with this group.
Yes.